How do you stay positive?
Very easily, actually. I've got goals, which obviously I write out: personal goals, business goals. As the principle there, we're always striving for, good team performance as well as individual performance. But the big thing for me is, I guess I've learned over the years that you can't win all the business. It'd be
So
great if you could.
cut yourself some slack?
Yeah, and there's plenty of business out there for everyone. And I think if you just maintain a positive attitude, be professional, understand that owners have the right to choose whoever they feel most comfortable with. Sometimes it's not about commission or marketing or process. It's just about they get a vibe. So you can't control that. So I just focus on the things I can control, which is my attitude, turning up, doing my job, and the rest kind of takes care of itself.
Yeah, attitude's pretty key, isn't it? I mean, especially if you're running a team. You've got an office, you've got a group of people. You can't turn up and be negative. It rubs off.
Look, it does, and I've found, especially in my team gets a lot of energy from my energy. So when I'm in the office, it's very positive, and everyone does feed off of my energy as a leader in there, and obviously the volume that we do, it gives everyone a bit of a kick in the pants for something to follow, and as salespeople, we're all motivated by success and competition, so it's great for the team. So yeah, if I'm having a bad day, it can rub off. So I'm very conscious of my attitude and my vibe when I'm in the office, absolutely.
Who motivates you?
I've got a number of trainers, and as I was talking off camera there before, there's a number of people within the industry who I feel are still far above my capability and experience, and I talk to them from time to time. And I think you need to have mentors, both in real estate and outside of real estate too. It's not just about this business.
Mentors or coaches?
Both. So I've got mentors and coaches. Yeah.
What do you look for in a coach?
I look for track record, to be honest. So
is that important, or is it more important that they make you feel uncomfortable?
No, well, track record obviously leads to that. So a good coach will make you uncomfortable, will put you out of your comfort zone so that you can achieve better things.
Track record doesn't necessarily follow that. So let me give you an example. A good footballer doesn't necessarily make a good coach of a football team. I've seen a lot of really good salespeople take on an office. Doesn't mean to say they're going to become a good leader. It doesn't follow that, does it?
Correct. You do have to be able to impart your knowledge, but what I meant before was, success leaves clues. It's a phrase that gets thrown around a lot in this industry, and it's true. You look at the best agents in our profession, and every one of them has had a real estate coach at some point. Okay, and all you got to do is have a chat with those people, and they'll lead you in the right direction. It's what I did, and there's a number of coaches who I've now used, and there's mentors that are successful in business outside of real estate who I obviously use for personal development and for business development as well.
What's the best piece of advice you've been given by a coach or a mentor?
One of the best pieces of advice I received was start where you want to end up when it comes to real estate, because obviously it's a long-term business. A lot of people get into this industry thinking to make fast money. I think when we've got a hot market like what we have now, you run the risk of those sorts of things happening, and I've worked in that market. Being in the industry now 12 years, I saw a lot of people come and go, and I think that damages the industry. So it's a long-term business, and if you take that attitude on it, you need to really think about where do you want to end up. So if it's Newcastle, if it's Charmhaven where I am, or whether it's Dubbo, it doesn't matter. You've got to think of the end game. Where do you want to be ending up in 10 years' time? Because that's when the business will really start to bear fruit.
Is that like the why? Like do you know the why of what you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Right now? Yeah, very clear on it. In my area, I feel that a lot of the technique, a lot of the technology, and a lot of the way things are done in our profession is very old school. So I'm making a very conscious decision to try and change those habits and use better technique, use better training, and become more professional. It's a bit of a debacle really when you can do a course online and then all of a sudden you can go out there and sell $1 million house. And I think that really is something which the industry could possibly do better to make sure that there are more checks and balances and get a higher skill set.
Is there a new breed of agent coming up?
Absolutely.
Tell me about that. How do you see that person?
Sooner the better too. I see them as hardworking, and I know all I can talk about is my experience in my office. I've restructured my entire office when my business partner retired nearly 2 years ago, and we made 11 staff changes, which was massive in an office of 13. So we made 11 staff changes, and we're patient with the people we brought on. The people we have on board now live locally, they work locally, they have families locally, they have good reputations, they're hard workers, and they strive to be the best. They train hard, they lead a healthy lifestyle, they're upstanding in the community. So I think real estate's had a bad name for a number of reasons over many years, but I think it can always be done better. We should always be aiming higher, and our office is an example. We all list auctions, we all use vendor paid marketing, we all use professional photography and floor plans and video, and we have a great sales team. We're not huge, but the people that we do have, we're growing slowly, and the door's always open for good people.
Knowing what you know now, is going back to when you first started, is there something you wish someone had told you then they didn't tell you?
Probably two things. Firstly, be careful who you take advice off. Okay, make sure that they know more than you do. So I took some advice off people early in my career that didn't really know what they were talking about, so that kind of slows you down. The second thing would be get a real estate coach as soon as possible. The sooner you get a real estate coach, you'll get perspective, you'll understand the daily things you have to do to stay in front of people. The more people you talk to, the more opportunities you'll have to list property. And the more opportunities you have to list property, the better you'll get.
Does having that coach make you more accountable? Is that what you're looking for? Accountability?
Accountability and technique. When you first start, you don't know anything, and you've got to really learn to fail faster, because the more failures you have, the more you learn, you can apply it, and then you get better faster. And that's the thing. There's some great people in our industry now who have been in the industry 2 or 3 years, and they're doing some tremendous sums. A lot of volume, and whether you're in $1 million environment or whatnot, which we aren't, we're in a very blue collar environment. I don't focus on the dollars, I focus on the transactions, because that's scalable through any marketplace in Australia or in the world, for that matter. So if you're doing a lot of volume, then clearly you've got a good sales process, you've clearly got good communication, you've got good follow-up, you've got good negotiation skills, because you don't get volume without all those things coming together. So what I do think is that a coach allows you to put all those things together. Makes it synchronise, and then helps you understand when is the next time to jump. When should you put your assistant on? In my marketplace, no one has assistants, so I had to look to completely different markets in Sydney or in Melbourne or in Adelaide, and I was looking at some great agents, people like Phil Harris and Ivan Bresic, people like that who I'd seen speak, and then you do research on them, and then success leaves clues, and then you find the coaches that these people are using. Next thing you know, you've got the same steps, and then you can replicate it.
Hello and welcome to this week's auction update, as we have a look at ahead at what's coming up this weekend or this week, and also we'll look back on the final auction results of last week. And the news we've got for you is pretty good, because we're going to be able to report that last week we recorded an 8-month clearance rate record, as we look at doubling the auction numbers for this week. Geoff White from CoreLogic will be with me in just a moment to give us all the details.
Did you know you can save up to 70% on your staff costs by outsourcing the low-value, repeatable tasks, so your team can focus on growing your business? Beepo is an outsourcing provider focused on the real estate industry. With an English-speaking, tertiary qualified and fully trained team in the Philippines, Beepo will give your business the boost it needs to start growing and returning value to you. For more information, visit beepo.com.au.
Welcome back. We say good morning once again, or good afternoon. I'm sorry, I've lost my track of the days and where we are. But Geoff White, I'm just so excited, Geoff, that we can pull up the results of 55.2% final clearance rate.
Yeah, hi Kevin. Yeah, definitely. I'm excited about that as well, because 55.2 is the highest clearance rate since the week of the 9th of September in 2018, where it's 55.3. So we've certainly seen an improvement nationally across the country with the auction. So good news for some of the capitals there as well. Sydney with 56.5 from 276 auctions. That's a very solid performance and in line with what it's been doing over the course of the last few weeks. Melbourne had an exceptional week of 60.7 from 432 auctions. And if you were to take out the week of Easter, where we only had 50 auctions in Melbourne and recorded a clearance rate of 63.2. So if you take that out, it was a very abnormal week. It's the highest clearance rate since the 20th of May 2018 in Melbourne. So that's a very good performance by Melbourne off the back of quite a few auctions, 432. And Brisbane back into the 40s from 76 auctions, although the numbers were down a little bit, but good to see a 4 in front of that for Brisbane with 40 right on, dead. And Adelaide 50.7, so that picked up as well there, Kevin. So from 83 auctions, and of course Canberra 51.7 from 31. So there's a few more that have seen improvement over the course of the last week, and this week will be a bit of a test because of the higher auction volumes. But I think we're seeing some good results across the board.
We'll give you the auction volumes in just a moment. Firstly, before we do, let's go to the Sydney sub-regions. And, gee, look at that eastern suburbs. Low numbers, but 88% is just quite incredible, Geoff.
Yeah, I know it is. And that'll be one to watch. When the auction numbers rise in the eastern suburbs, let's see how the clearance rate holds up. But that's you scan some of these clearance rates and you look at, say, eastern suburbs 88.2, you look at the likes of northern beaches, 71.4, even the city and inner south was 65.2. Yes, lower numbers last week, but still very, very good clearance rates. And that's a sign that the buyers, I think, are starting to get back into the marketplace and accepting that maybe the market could change and to secure now. So. Very good signs for some of those sub-regions, but a bit of a mixed bag this week, but that'll probably even out a bit this coming week.
Yeah, we'll give you the auction numbers, as I said, in just a moment. Before we do, Melbourne, we got a great result out of Melbourne, and if you look, it was fairly widely spread too. You look, some in the 70s, and I don't think any in the, there's one in the 60s, and the rest in around 40 or 50.
Yeah, it's interesting because the inner sub-region, 68.1 from 86, the highest auction volume in terms of numbers and a very healthy percentage. And we'll recall that week, a couple of weeks ago, where that was under 50. So that's now back into where it probably should have been. The inner east at 71.2 from 56, very good. But the outer east topped the table in Melbourne, with 77.8 from 32 auctions. Very, very good to see some 70s in amongst the Melbourne sub-regions, and that's pushed the overall Melbourne clearance rate up to, just over 60%. So good result for Melbourne.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, auctions for this weekend. Wow, have a look at this. Sydney, incredible numbers compared to last week, of course, and even Melbourne getting up close to 1,000 auctions. I think we've got very close to 2,000 auctions nationally this week, Geoff.
Yes, 1,933. 1933 this week, off 930 last week. So just over 1,000 more auctions this week, as you'd expect. With now pretty much a straight run right through the winter, save and except an odd holiday here or there, like Queen's birthday, etc. But yes, it'll be interesting to see what the market does now with a few more auctions. Sydney with 680, Melbourne 909. We often refer to it, if it hits 1,000, as a Super Saturday. I mean. So, 909 is very good. Brisbane back over 100 with 131, and likewise with Adelaide with 121. So more auctions right around the whole country, and will be an interesting result, I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on Canberra too, now that we're out of the federal election. We'll see. That probably will settle down a bit. We normally see a bit of turmoil in that market when there's a change in government, which didn't happen, obviously. So it'll probably settle down a bit, I would think, Geoff.
Yeah, I think like the whole real estate market, Kevin, I think it'll probably all settle down now. But you're right, Canberra will get on with business now as they do. So, yeah, it's steady as you go, I think, at the moment. And I don't anticipate that records will be broken this week, but certainly I expect clearance rates to be pretty good. So we'll see how we go.
Very good. We'll talk to you again on Monday and we'll give you the full wrap on all the sales over the weekend, the top sales in Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide. And Geoff White will be our guest then. Geoff, have a great weekend. Good calling as you get around all the auctions too, mate. All the best.
Yeah, cheers, Kevin. All the very best.
Evening, Clara. Home, please.
David, what's on your mind?
I was just thinking of a different time is all.
It was a time when I used to sit up there, you know. Driving wasn't just about being taken from place to place, but going somewhere. Feeling something along the way.
Please, David, you should relax.
I'm afraid that's just the problem.
David, where are you going? David? David?